let me show you guys what Donald Trump and some exchanges that he had with reporters about just that, our economy and his vast wealth that he is now expanded upon because of his use and his fleecing of the White House for himself and his family.
Generally regarded to be the wealthiest man who's ever occupied the White House. How much wealthier are you now than when you returned to the White House?
Well, I don't know the deals I made for the most part, other than what my kids are doing. You know, they're running my business. But most of the deals that I've made were made before. And that's what I've done for a life. I've built buildings. Like I'm building a building here. You know where I'm building? You know what? You see that area? Yeah. That is going to be the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world. And for 150, so it gives me pleasure to do it for the country. And I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it. The country's not, and that's an expensive ballroom.
But is it appropriate?
I think it'll cost $250 million, and it will be, I think, the finest ballroom. So for 150 years, John, you know this? They've wanted a ballroom. And now they're going to finally have it. And it's going to knock your socks off.
First of all, he was first asked, in case you guys couldn't hear his first question, he said, you could be the wealthiest man to occupy the White House. And this asshole had a grin and said, I hope so. Because that's all he cares about. And then when being asked, when his brain switched back to the, the direct fascism at folks, he then asked him about the ballroom. And he said, well, I'm doing this for America and I'm paying for it. I'm looking for the documents to show that Donald Trump is paying for the $250 million ballroom that he says he's putting as an addition to the White House so that he can host more elitist parties with all of the people in the Golden Tower. How soon do we forget these folks who kept talking about all the populist views that he had? Where are all the populist supporters of Donald Trump as he keeps talking about how he can't go out to dinner without being interrupted by Code Pink? I can't have my $250 million ballroom where I can host all the rich people. He opened up the Rose Garden parking lot now where he had other elitists stand there, and he said it's like the White House Club or something. When are the populists going to come out with their pitchforks and be finally done with the fact that they got suckered into thinking that this guy ever gave a hot damn about anything else except for building his wealth, which he said, I'm just doing it.
But is it appropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity?
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Paul Corners program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone. Well, go ahead, John.
Maybe you
can set a nicer tone.
The UAE does a deal. What does it want in return?
Quiet.
Mr. President, what are you hearing about the operation?
When pressed one more time, just a small press, he then started asking this guy's affiliation. Where are you from? Dude, your leaders are going to be here. This guy was from Australia. Your leaders are going to be here in a few weeks. Who knows if Australian leaders are coming here? He just makes shit up anyway. And then I'm going to tell them about you. They're not going to be very happy because they're going to want some negotiations with me. Think about that mindset. Don't ask the president of the United States a question as a reporter, or else he's going to threaten you with then going to the leaders of the country you're from to tell them this reporter did that. You might want to get him away from me, or else I'm not going to give you any kind of negotiations or any kind of normalcy in our talks that we'll ever have because a reporter asked me a question. Somebody tell me how that's not fascist. Somebody tell me how that's not fascist. How that's a suppression of a free press. And you're going to go and talk internationally to someone else's leaders because you think those leaders are just like you are, how they're authoritarians, and then are going to suppress this guy so that they can please you. Here he is on this economy that he's destroying and all this money that he's bringing in.
Some auto executives are concerned that compromising the 15% for auto tariffs coming in hurts American automakers. What do you say to?
Well, I haven't compromised anything. Where did I compromise?
Going down to 15% from 25.
Going down to 15%.
From 25.
We charge well. And where did the 25 come from? It came from there. You tell me. Just so you know, they paid nothing for years. Now they're paying 15%. And some things can pay more, like chips could pay more. Pharmaceuticals could pay more. There's a bigger margin. With a car, you have to make 15% before you make a profit. pretty tough. So, but we had a good deal. Don't forget, European Union is paying our country because of tariffs $950 billion. Think of that. We're talking about a year. $950 billion. Japan is paying us $650 billion. These are countries that paid us nothing until I came along. And China's paying us a tremendous tariff. You know what the tariff is, right? You know what the tariff they're paying us? What?
Yeah, so it's 30% for the fentanyl as well as whatever for the 301s.
20% for the fentanyl, but the overall is about 55%. Okay? That's as opposed to nothing. Would you say that's a difference?
I'd say the difference is we have an idiot in the White House who thinks everyone else that's listening to him is also as dumb as he is. How much is China paying? Zero. American consumers are paying all that. As he then brags about how much he's siphoning money from us. And those numbers aren't even what American consumers are paying. He keeps making numbers up. Remember, it went from $17 trillion before down to, I think, 8, bounced to 4 trillion. Then he had a couple hundred millions coming in. Also, the EU in total, just the EU, I guess, the EU just pays us $950 billion because it's the EU. And, that's what they do. They just collectively pay us a certain amount because those agreements are in place.
When will you impose tariffs on China?
We're going to see, but we've hit them very hard in so many other ways. I don't know if you know. Do you know what they're paying right now? What are they paying right now? You know what China's paying right now in tariffs? Huh? A lot.
Have you noticed in both of those instances of him talking about how much China's paying, he asks someone how much they're paying, and then he thinks, let me come up with a number. Let's say a lot. $950 billion from the EU, $650 billion from Japan. I'm not going to do it for the third time, but I went through that Political article that talked about how none of those deals are in place. And if they were deals in place, we'd be paying that shit anyway. God, we're destroying ourselves for the whims of this empty-brained, egotistical asshole. That's what we're doing. And we could make fun of farmers that voted for him and now they suck. Their crops are going absolutely nowhere. You know what? Here's one. I do it all the time. Let's do another one.
We've got a real disaster with this tariff deal. I mean, we produce 40% more agricultural products in this country than we can consume domestically. 1 in every 4 rows of soybeans in every field in the entire United States of America has to go abroad. China is the largest importer of soybeans in the world. They import 61% of the world's market. Last year, we sent around $12 billion, I think $14 billion worth of soybeans the year before. For the first time in 20 years, China's bought 0 soybeans and 0 new crop corn out of this country.
0?
So we went from 12 billion to 0.
Where are they buying the soybeans?
Brazil. You see, we lost 42% of our market share in the first tariff war. In Trump's first tariff war, the Chinese went to buying their soybeans from Brazil. They invested billions of dollars in Brazilian infrastructure. They have moved into Africa, and they're going to commercially farm in Africa. Since we left with USAID, they moved their Belt and Road program into Africa. So we've pretty much lost the Chinese market share. If we got 100% of the soybean business, Katie, for every country in the world except for Brazil and Argentina, we would still only have half the soybean business that China is.
Are you getting 100% of everything else?
Yeah, if we got 100% of everything else, we would still only have half the Chinese business.
How about those numbers? 12 billion to 0. So again, here's the last wrinkle of this guy's lies. First off, he keeps telling the lies about tariffs and how they're paying all this, but also how these countries that he's having these wars with have circumvented the United States. This guy, he pointed out how China has already circumvented the United States for soy and has gone to other countries, Brazil and parts of Africa as well. So he keeps saying, I'm going to keep raising these tariffs on China, and they're going to come to the table because they need us. Matter of fact, they need us more than we need them, he said. Not according to Arkansas farmers. How about one of those enablers? Let's talk about some of these enablers. It's not just Donald Trump. There's people who knew about who this guy was, and they knew what tariffs and everything would do to the country. Chuck Grassley. He's worried because he's a senator from Iowa. Iowa, big farm state.
We've got this farm crisis now. And this president should deal with this farm crisis right now. I'm hearing from bankers. I'm hearing from people that are getting pressed by their bankers to maybe sell part of their farm. So they want to sell to somebody that when they build up their equity, they might be able to buy it back. We haven't had this kind of stress in agriculture since the 1980s. Putting 50% tariffs on things that have steel in them when you can't buy those things in the United States and you need them for your tractor to be finally manufactured. There shouldn't be tariffs on things that you can't get in the United States. Why drive up the price of John Deere's because of a tariff on something they need for the tractor that they can't even get in the United States? It's a stupid policy.
It's weird that Chuck Grassley is calling, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley is calling Donald Trump's tariff policies stupid when somehow he couldn't figure out that they were stupid when other folks were calling them stupid. For some reason, Chuck Grassley's now upset and he has all these answers. Man, he's got it together. He's figured out that somehow when you have a stupid tariff policy that it's going to destroy people's farms, it's going to destroy their lives, it's going to raise prices, and we're going to pay the bill. It's weird because I feel like Chuck Grassley's been around long enough. He's 89 years old. I feel like he's been around long enough to realize what would have happened. And in case he didn't, back in April, like 15 days after he started implementing these tariff policies, for some reason, Chuck Grassley's hair was not on fire when someone asked him about what this is going to do to us.
Okay, my son has cattle.
Yes.
And he works at a regular job, and then he has cow-calf pairs.
Sure.
And so I just wonder how the tariffs will affect someone like him. So if market-wise and long-term.
From this standpoint, it could affect. It's too early to make a judgment if what I'm going to say will happen. But for instance, one benefit might be from the fact that Australia today doesn't take our beef. So if Australia is one of those 100 countries that have come to Washington now to negotiate because Trump put the tariffs on, and we can get our beef into Australia, that would be to his benefit. But it could also be negative from the standpoint that if people don't negotiate, because there's a lot more countries than the 100 that have so far come to the table, then we know from past years, not just under Trump, but under other presidents, that when you put something negative like a tariff on some country, they seem to retaliate against agriculture issues.
Weird how Chuck Grassley knew that retaliation could happen, but he was holding out hope. He said it was too early to make a judgment on the results of Trump's tariffs. I feel like Chuck knew this was going to happen, but Chuck Grassley was way too cowardly at the time to say it then. And then after saying it, he's saying it now. I'm waiting. When are you going to now do something about it? When is Congress going to step in and be like, listen, we're going to take our rights back for when it comes to tariff policy? We're going to stop kowtowing and allowing everything that you come up in the top of your stupid head to do. And then after it happens, go, can you believe this? Our farmers are suffering. We're losing money. This is a crisis. Something needs to be done. This is a stupid policy. Who could have seen this coming? Fire his ass. He doesn't know what he's doing. And then if he does know what he's doing, he doesn't care until it's a problem for him to act like he cares about what's happening now. Why do we let incompetent people who are very extremely important positions in our country, who are supposed to represent us, be incompetent and let them stay in office? Why is that? If you go through like a McDonald's drive-through and they fuck up your order and give you the Big Mac with extra pickles when you ask for it with no pickles, you circle back around there, throw bags in their face and be like, you got this order wrong, to the minimum wage worker that's standing there. How these fries are cold. Why is that ice cream machine not working? I want to talk to your manager. But we won't talk to Chuck Grassley's manager. Or when Chuck Grassley shows up and tries to get elected again, we don't go, get the fuck out. You failed us. You fucked up the ice cream machine.